Hey everybody, it's Firewizard23 here. I wanted to make this video because I'd like to talk about... I haven't really done a video like this before. I wanted to talk about SOPA, what's the exact wording here? The Stop Online Piracy Act, as it's commonly referred to, H.R. 3261, that has been introduced to the House. I just wanted to talk just very briefly, just with the information I've gathered in the past few hours regarding what this bill says. Let's just clear the air about a couple of issues first off. This kind of thing really is something that's been batting back and forth for decades at this point. I mean, there were fights back when people had VHSs, could you make copies of things that you saw on TV, and there was bitter fights about that. I mean, I think these kind of fights and arguments and, takedown notices and stuff, I mean, it's growing pains of the digital age. It's just simply what it is. And I think at some point we have to find some kind of happy medium, where people can feel free to put their electronic work out there and they don't have to feel like it's going to be just pirated in some way. I want to give people who actually want to protect their copyrights credit. They have a right to that. Because I always love the people I see online who are like, oh, this got taken down, that's not fair, that's not fair. I mean, who was it I was watching? It was somebody who had the entire series of the Brady Bunch up on YouTube, and I watched those videos and enjoyed it. I hadn't seen the Brady Bunch in years, and then people got so mad that I got taken down. Well, it's like, well, you know what? He doesn't own the Brady Bunch. He's not NBC. He didn't own the Brady Bunch, and I think the notice was taken down for severe infringement of copyright. You don't own the Brady Bunch. I know that guy did not own the Brady Bunch. So let's just take a look here. I am looking at the actual text of the bill. If you type in SOPA, Stop Online Piracy Act, you will come to a link to the actual bill text from the 112th Congress of 2011 to 2012. I'm going to try to stay away from electronic semantics, but let's see what we got here. Okay, so best place to start would be at the beginning. So, we got a couple of savings clauses. The First Amendment. Nothing in this act shall be construed to impose a prior restraint on free speech or the press protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution. Flat out. You still have First Amendment rights. Period. This one I'm a little bit confused on. Title 17 liability. I'm not going to read this whole freaking thing, but I'm just going to read these two. Nothing in Title 1 shall be construed to enlarge or diminish liability, including various or contributory liability, for any cause of action available under Title 17 United States Code, including any limitations on liability under such title. I'm not sure what that means. If someone knows what that means, just put it down below. It goes on to a bunch of definitions. For those who don't know what ISPs are, read that. It'll just give you a general little proviso. And then we get to the actual text. Where is it? No, it's definitions. Action by Attorney General to protect U.S. customers and prevent U.S. support or foreign infringing sites. Definition. For purposes of this section, a foreign internet site or portion thereof is a foreign infringing site if... Okay, we've got three things. Number one, the internet site or portion thereof is a U.S.-directed site and is used by users in the United States. You're on YouTube right now, you live in the United States, this qualifies. I think it's both, actually. Internet site or portion thereof is a U.S.-directed site and is... Okay, it has to be both. It has to be something used by a United States citizen, and it has to be directable in the United States by our servers. 2. The owner or operator of such internet site is committing or facilitating the commission of criminal violations. Punishable under section, it mentions the various sections of copyright infringement, copyright code, Title 18 United States Code, sections 2318, 2319, 2319A, 2319B, and 2320. If you're curious, Chapter 90, Title 18 of the United States Code. That's important. It says you're facilitating the commission of criminal violations. That's important. I construe that, if I'm interpreting this correctly, just the notes I've gathered, because I found a really good site. I don't have it up anymore, but I was wondering, what was the difference between criminal and civil copyright infringement? What's the difference there? Criminal copyright infringement is a crime that actually affects the United States in some way. It actually has a lasting effect in some way. For example, if I break into a store and steal stuff, I've committed a crime because I've actually affected I've actually affected society in some way. One could say I've spread fear. Not only have I done something to that specific person, but I've created fear, I've done this and that. I was in education, let me just use a civil example. I have made photocopies of a copyrighted work for distribution in my classroom. I have committed a civil copyright infringement because I did not ask the copyright owner's permission. Let's just say I committed enough that it was a criminal copyright. Let's say I copied the whole book. Okay, I can't do that. I've committed a civil copyright infringement. That can be handled in a civil court between me and the copyright owner. That is not going to be handled in a criminal court because it didn't really affect society in any way. I just simply affected the rights of the copyright owner. Does that kind of make sense? Like there's a difference there. So when I'm reading that second thing, they're facilitating the commission of criminal violations. That's telling me that you've done that the site inadvertently in some way has committed something that would be triable in a court of law. That like we could actually like the criminal court of law. Like you could, really bad stuff could happen because you've done this. You've caused problems because of what you've done. And number 3, the internet site would, by reasonable acts described in paragraph 1, be subject to seizure in the United States in an action brought by the Attorney General if such site were a domestic internet site. It exists here. Basically, it just goes on to explain what happens, actions based on court orders. It goes on to explain that the service YouTube has been thrown out as an example. Let's take that. Let's say YouTube got affected by this action. YouTube would be affected, the actual site, but not the people who were hosting YouTube as a site would not be affected. That's the very generalization of it. And I read this, monitor, a couple things that concern me here. Number 1, while this bill does not explicitly indicate countermeasures, it doesn't say those countermeasures don't exist. It just doesn't indicate them. It just kind of seems like they can just kind of act first and then do something later. It's harsh. My concern here would be just simply due process. It seems to just kind of skip over the aspect of due process. And based on, you can check like Wikipedia right now and just see like the big hitters opposing this. This is going to get batted back and forth. This is not going to indicate. This is not the form this is going to take if we ever get anything even remotely resembling this. It's not this form. So I am not overly concerned about this at all. This is not going to be, this is not going anywhere. This bill is way too, it doesn't, I've read from Wikipedia that apparently, which is true, which is consistent with copyright law, you can respond to that and say, like, no, we did not do that. That we have not done that, that we're not under that, but it does kind of put people who put things up in a really weak position. I don't think it's going to exist in this form, though, because we got, like, oh, who did they say? Let me pull up Wikipedia here really quick. Yeah, I'm just bummed about it, too. What if something like this did happen? It's kind of bum. It's kind of bumming. You like that guy with the glasses. You like YouTube. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. So, I have to talk about that. Wait, let me go back for a sec. I was typing SOPA, S-O-P-A. It gave sopaya pila, a kind of fried pastry. And as we look here, a SOPA is a kind of fried pastry. What? Okay, introduce House Legislative, because we got supporters. Supporters? Okay, we got supporters. Shows the various senators who approve of this. We got the Motion Picture Association of America. We got the Recording Industry Association of America. The Macmillan Publishers, Netflix, Viacom. It also includes Nike, L'Oreal, and the Ashkutnet Company. I don't know who that is. Opposition includes, listen to this, Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Reddit, AOL, LinkedIn, eBay, the Wikimedia Foundation, as well as the human rights organizations Reporters Without Borders, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and the Human Rights Watch. Also, like, something like the Freedom for the First Amendment people, like, the Free Software Foundation, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and the Public Knowledge. They have made opposition of it. So, yeah, I mean, the big wigs are going at it here. And I think at some point we do need some greater regulation of copyrighted stuff, because I do think we've gotten into a way, let me just recenter myself here. I think in a lot of ways we've gotten very used to how digital technology is. That I can just, here's something I have, and I can just simply make a clone of it like nothing, and that's okay. And while I certainly agree with that on a very personal use, I agree with that I think what we kind of agreed with, kind of like the VHSs way back, that like you're using it for your own use, so it's okay. We get into really copyright has always been a really, really legally murky area. It always has been. What is okay and what isn't? What is civil and what is criminal? Do copyright owners even care? For example, that was a big thing with video games when it was, what was it, S978? Was it a couple of months back? Maybe that's still existing, I don't know. I watched a guy got really, really upset about that. Actually got more upset at the guy. I wasn't so mad at the bill. I was mad at how the guy was kind of just completely slanting what the bill was. It's like, no, that's not what it is, dude. You're totally misreading it. And where was I going with this? I forgot where I was going with this, help! I think that, let's see, we're getting so comfortable with how that I can click, click, click and get something, and, it's gonna be hell for the people who have made copyrighted works that go millions upon millions of dollars to know they can just get out there. I mean, I'm sorry, but on some level, I do have a sympathy and for a frustration for that. Let me just show you. This is a great movie, by the way. I highly recommend going to buy this Winnie the Pooh, or get on a streaming download that you buy. Okay, let's do the good thing here. Let's go buy this somehow. But this is a really good movie. You'll laugh your butt off, Winnie the Pooh. You will love this. But I'm sorry, there is something unfair. All these Disney animators. There's a huge role at the end of this of how many people worked on this movie. It's crazy, and it paid off. That's gotta kind of piss people off to think that we worked this hard and someone can just go here and get it for free. Something isn't right about that, and I think there has to be some kind of happy medium. We have to stop that kind of stuff and allow legitimate sites to come up. And I think we've kind of responded to that. Remember when the whole Napster thing was happening like a decade or so ago, and then sites started popping up where you could legally download the song for like 99 cents or something like that? We're starting to respond to that. We have like Hulu.com, where you can go and watch the current episodes of a series. Comedy Central has completely jumped on the bandwagon. They have like, SouthParkStudios.com. You can go and watch the episodes whenever you want. I think they just put a little ad at the beginning of it. I mean, the copyright owners are figuring it out, how to get around it. But I think there are certain aspects of it, say, for example, these people, that they don't do that. That they don't like their medium to be out there, maybe even because that is possible, that such copies can be made. But let's wrap this up. My general thought is I do not think this bill is going anywhere. I think there's too many of the big wigs bowing this out. I think if anything, there would probably be amendments to it. I don't think that guy with the glasses or YouTube or any of these, I don't think they're going anywhere. I think that some kind of happy medium is going to be developed at some point. It's going to be tricky. And I think there's always going to be people who push the boundaries, decide, I can do this just because I can. And a lot of people, I bet a lot of you are wondering what I think about video games. And the best argument I've ever made about that, I kind of have to agree with a lot of people. It's never gone to court. It's never actually gone to court because the copyright owners don't care. And that's another thing. Do the copyright owners care? That's a big thing that's come out about video games, is that, for the most part, most of the copyright owners don't really seem to care that we play video games on YouTube, that we have Let's Plays, that we have walkthroughs. It doesn't really seem to care, and I kind of go with the idea that first off, it would be so ridiculous. I think I read that on Wikipedia when I was reading the difference of civil versus criminal copyright infringement, that, for when it goes like it's a criminal case and they're going to prosecute this person in a criminal court of law, they're not going to concern themselves with like the one person who made a copy of a photograph. They're going to go after this person who was widely distributing music, and they're going to go with the person who did the bigger crime. So, video game, go after a gamer, me, a gamer who's just sitting down, da-da-da-da-da-da, hey, YouTube, it's Firewizard23. They're not going to go after me. They have better things to do with their time. But a lot of people argue, from the copyright standpoint, the act of me just picking up a controller and playing the game and interacting with it in some way makes it its own medium, and so therefore it is a transitive work of some type. It would be shielded under fair use. And and I want to comment on that because a lot of people on YouTube are like, oh, this was fair use. YouTube couldn't take it down. That's not fair. YouTube doesn't have to support us. YouTube is owned by Google. Google's lawyers, they're concerned about the bottom, and Google itself, they're concerned about their own bottom line. They don't have the legal time to be sitting around and battling each individual fair use case. It unfortunately does kind of fall on us to have some kind of responsibility for what we put out there, and to know that are we willing to defend it in some way. And they don't have the time. They're not. What's the option? This is their option. Oh, this one guy, he's playing. Let's say it just came down to video games, which I don't think it would ever come to. I think it's so petty. I mean, seriously. Let's just say a guy playing video games. Let's say, oh, this guy's playing video games on YouTube. You have to take his video down because it's violating our copyright infringement. So here's what they can do. Okay, they can do the simple thing of suspending your account, or 2, they can get a lawyer. They can argue in your defense that you are doing a fair use thing and go through huge legal tribulation themselves for you. What do you think they're going to do? I'm sorry. I hear all these things where this and that happens. Well, you know what? YouTube isn't going to do that. It sucks, but they're not going to. We are putting our videos on their site under the understanding that it's our work in some way and it's not infringing. And I think we take an inherent risk when we put things up that we just simply do not own. That's how I feel about it. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to say anyone on here is doing it intentionally. No one on here has malicious intent. Let's make that clear. I don't think anyone who plays video games or put other things up, just puts inserts little clips. I don't think anyone is doing this maliciously. I don't think anyone is doing this for the pure intent of maliciousness, of flaunting copyright law, of any type. I do not think that is the purpose of what we do. We do it purely for an entertainment value. We do it purely for comment and critique. I would pretty much argue that the majority of stuff I've ever seen on the internet really does fall under fair use, of anything that we do on YouTube or anything. There is the occasional thing. I see entire episodes of The Brady Bunch. I've seen entire episodes of game shows. You don't own that. You can't put... You can't. It's just you don't own that. They're not out of bounds by saying we want to stop this, because they do own it. Now, I think that inherently says, well, if people want to watch these things, maybe you need to put them in some kind of format where we can watch them. I would love to go to... let's speculate. I'd love to go to Viacom.com where I can watch things that Viacom actually owns and actually be able to watch it legitimately. Why not? Make some kind of... We could do that. What would be wrong with that? What would be wrong with having something out there? For example, a big thing I'm into is game shows. I'd like to be able to go and watch old game shows. I know GSN.com, I don't believe, has that kind of capacity to really just show me any kind of archived episode of any game show I'd ever like to watch. Even just put a little ad in the front so they can make some revenue, but I'd like that. I'd like to be able to do something like that. And I think the big reason we do this, to put these videos up and to put things up that people want to watch, is for our own sense of homage. We want to watch these things. We want to see these things. I mean, God, the Room of the Mandarin Hand, who had all the Legends of the Hidden Temple episodes up, I think he got tons and tons of hits, and unfortunately he was taken down because Nickelodeon owns Legends of the Hidden Temple, not this user. One day I'd like to think we have some kind of medium where, let's put all that stuff out there and let people just be able to watch it. Put up a little ad. I'd be willing to watch a 15-minute ad. It means I can watch something that aired, 20 years ago. Sorry, I think we're almost getting to a point where we don't have television anymore. So the internet for me is a really big medium where I can just kind of kick back and just watch whatever I want. I mean, the variety here is just so wide and diverse. And it's just kind of sad that but that we can't watch everything we want to watch. I'm sorry if sometimes my argument got a little muddled here, but essentially I think at some point we can find a happy medium where, you know what, they do have a right to protect their copyright, but we have a right as well to produce entertainment that we think people want to watch. And we have a right to put things out that we think people are going to want to watch. So, I hope you've enjoyed this. Tomorrow I'll put up my next video for my video game LPs, and this is Firewizard23 saying take care and bye-bye for now.